Jeremiah 50, starting at 22, NLT. Let the battle cry be heard in the land, a shout of great destruction. Babylon, the mightiest hammer in all the earth, lies broken and shattered. Babylon is desolate among the nations. Listen, Babylon, for I have set a trap for you. You are caught, for you have fought against the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The Lord Yahweh has opened his armory and brought out weapons to vent his fury. The terror that falls upon the Babylonians will be the work of the sovereign Lord of heaven's armies. All praises be to the Heavenly Father in the name of his only begotten Son and the Holy Spirit. Call Allah Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Wawacha, HaKodash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Peace salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom to the believers that subscribe and listen to this truth wholeheartedly through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. This is going to be a World War III, all right? A World War III missile systems update, all right? And the reason why I'm going into this is just, to edify and update brothers that, probably don't know and haven't been, following, what's going on with this war, all right, between Russia and Ukraine, NATO and the EU versus Russia and the BRICS, okay? And also, the main thing that I want to touch on in this video is, the different missile systems, the new Oreshnik, all right, missile system that Russia just launched over there in Ukraine and Dnipro, all right, and so brothers can get familiar with the different systems, okay, because it's been said out there that Russia they launched a ICBM, and that's not the case. It wasn't an ICBM, which stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missiles. Okay, so this video will help brothers understand the different missile systems, as you have short, medium range, intermediate, and long range missile systems. And what Russia launched on Ukraine was RBM, not an ICBM, IRBM, which is intermediate range ballistic missiles. So you have different ballistic missiles, okay? You got hypersonic systems, all right? And you got MERV and you got MARV. This video is going to explain those things, okay? So this is pretty much a World War III update on missile systems, all right? And that's what I'll entitle it, World War III update, understanding missile systems. U.S. Dark Eagle versus Russia's Oreshnik missile system, okay? Lord, will you be edified? I want to get a couple more precepts before we get into these video clips, all right? So this is the book of Joel, and I'm going to be reading out of the NLT, all right? This is the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 3, and I'm going to jump down. It reads from the NLT, fire burns in front of them, and flames follow after them. Ahead of them, the land lies as beautiful as the Garden of Eden. Behind them is nothing but desolation. Right, this is the power of modern warfare. All right, these ballistic missile systems, okay, they were designed to cause massive destruction, all right, to destroy on massive levels. Joel 2 verse 6, fear grips all the people. Every face grows pale with terror. Joel 3, starting at verse 9. NLT, say to the nations far and wide, get ready for war. Call out your best warriors. Let all your fighting men advance for the attack. Hammer your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. So in other words, invest in military arsenal weapons systems, okay? Invest in missile systems, missile defense system. Invest in short range, medium range, intermediate, and long range missile systems. That's what's going on in the world right now concerning World War III. Verse 11, come quickly, all you nations everywhere. Gather together in the valley. And now, O Lord, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, call out your warriors. Verse 12, let the nations be called to arms. All right, let the nations be called to arms means let these nations, all right, come forth and present. It's a saying in the military, present arms, meaning show your weaponry, show your firepower, okay? And that's what you're seeing going on right now. These nations are being called by the Spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai to display and showcase their arsenal, which the arsenal is really Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai's arsenal. All right, that's why I opened up with Jeremiah 50 and 25. All right, these missile systems are indeed the armory of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, and they're going to be used to execute his indignation and judgment. All right, which indignation goes into a righteous anger. His judgment is going to be executed in the form of nuclear warfare. All right, with these different ballistic missile systems. All right, the Heavenly Father is giving the men in these armies, these scientists, the minds to bring forth his fury, all right, in the form of those missiles again. Joel 3 and 12, let the nations be called to arms. Let them march to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There I, the Lord, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, will sit to pronounce judgment on them all. Lord, will you be edified? Shalom.
The war in Ukraine is at an alarming level. Neither Zelensky nor Putin are willing to sit down and negotiate, especially after the US and the UK allowed Ukraine to strike deep inside Russia. This angered Putin. The Russian leader says that his patience has run out. Tensions dramatically escalated on the 21st of November, when Russia became the first nation ever to fire a ballistic missile in war. The ballistic missile attack on Ukraine was in response to the United States allowing Zelensky to fire long-range ATACMS to strike deep inside Russia. Along with the US, the United Kingdom also allowed Zelensky to fire the air-launched Storm Shadow missiles to target Russia. Putin has repeatedly warned NATO members against arming Ukraine. The Russian leader has accused the West of pushing the world towards World War III. When Ukraine used the ATACMS and Storm Shadow against Russia on November 19th, Putin decided to hit back hard.
19 ноября 6 оперативно-тактическими ракетами «Атакамс» производства США.
On November 19th, with 6 U.S.-made ATACMS operational tactical missiles, and on November 21st, during a combined missile attack with UK-made Storm Shadow and US-made HIMARS systems, military facilities were struck in the Bryansk and Kursk regions of the Russian Federation. Since then, as we have repeatedly emphasized earlier, the regional conflict in Ukraine provoked by the West has acquired elements of a global nature.
Спровоцированный Западом региональный конфликт на Украине.
Russia launched a new weapon from the city of Kapustin Yar. It struck the central Ukrainian city of Dnipro. Multiple warheads made loud bangs and flashes across the city. It was an attack the Ukrainians had never seen before. Putin had just unleashed a ballistic missile called the Oreshnik, which means hazel tree. It's a weapon that the world didn't even know about.
Старых еще советских систем, хотя понятно, все мы вышли.
Yesterday, I informed the personnel of the armed forces, citizens of Russia, our allies around the world, as well as those who are trying to blackmail us with force, about the newest Russian medium-range missile system. This is our Yar complex, which you called Oreshnik. This is a ballistic missile in a non-nuclear hypersonic equipment. As we know from the analysis of objective control data, the tests were successful.
Вашей работы, которая была проделана российские.
Russia fired the Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile. Putin says that Russia will keep firing this new weapon in order to study how the Oreshnik deploys multiple hypersonic warheads, making it the first weapon to showcase such capabilities. Ballistic missiles go back to the Cold War, when the Soviet Union unveiled the R-7 Semyorka. It became the world's first intercontinental ballistic missile. Ballistic missiles are rocket-propelled strategic weapons. They follow a suborbital trajectory to deliver a payload to a predetermined target. Upon reaching their highest altitude or apogee, the booster separates and propels the payload to the target. The warhead then reaches speeds of Mach 5 and above, making it hypersonic. Some of the most advanced ballistic missiles have maneuverable warheads. The Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicle, or MIRV, is a large warhead with multiple smaller warheads inside, and upon release, these multiple warheads strike different points over a designated target zone. Then there's the more advanced Maneuverable Re-Entry Vehicle, or MARV, where the flight path of the multiple warheads can be altered after they separate from the larger warhead. And when the MIRV and MARV warheads travel at hypersonic speeds and strike multiple points over a designated area, they become impossible to intercept, making the ballistic missile the most lethal weapon to deliver large payloads. These warheads can be fitted onto the short-range, the medium-range, intermediate-range, and intercontinental ballistic missiles. And these ballistic missiles can be further modified to carry either conventional, biological, chemical, or nuclear warheads. What Russia fired at Ukraine was the Oreshnik ballistic missile, with a conventional payload with MIRV capabilities. It is believed to be derived from the RS-26 Rubesh, an intermediate ballistic missile meant for nuclear strikes. Russia replaced the Rubesh's nuclear warhead with an MIRV warhead capable of launching hypersonic vehicles that are non-nuclear in nature.
All the characteristics speed, altitude, or intercontinental ballistic missile. An expert is currently underway. It is obvious that Putin is using Ukraine as a training ground. It is obvious that Putin is afraid when there is simply normal life around him, when people just have dignity.
Люди просто мають гідність.
We can only say that this missile is ballistic, moved along a ballistic trajectory, which was only affected by aerodynamic resistance, and it damaged civilian infrastructure and infrastructure facilities in the city of Dnipro.
These fragments are the remains of a missile that struck the city of Dnipro on November 21st. A ballistic missile was launched at the city, most of its flight being on an uncontrolled ballistic trajectory affected only by aerodynamic drag.
Вона здійснює по неконтрольованій балістичній траєкторії, на яку впливають лише аерогідро.
Putin says that Russia will keep testing the Oreshnik and develop more variants of the ballistic weapon.
Добавлю, что противодействие такой ракете, средств ее перехвата.
I will add that there are no means of counteracting such a missile, means of intercepting it. In the world today, they don't exist. And I will emphasize once again, we will continue testing the latest system.
Необходимо наладить серийное производство. Будем считать, что решение по
The United States says that it knew about the Russian missile launch.
I can confirm that Russia did launch an experimental intermediate-range ballistic missile. This IRBM was based on Russia's RS-26 Rubezh intercontinental ballistic missile model. In terms of notifications to the United States was pre-notified briefly before the launch through nuclear risk reduction channels.
Washington then announced more military aid for Kyiv. Joining them were France, the UK, and Germany, all of whom also announced more weapons for Ukraine. However, Hungary and Poland took a more careful stance. They urged Putin to reconsider escalations.
Amikor egy olyan országgal, mint Oroszország,
When dealing with a country like Russia, which is fundamentally different from us and bases its policies primarily on military power, its position in the world, and its vision for the future are largely defined by the fact that it possesses one of the strongest armies in the world, equipped with the most advanced and destructive weapons. When they say something in this matter, it should be understood the way they say it.
azt úgy kell venni, ahogy mondják.
Wojna na wschodzie wchodzi w rozstrzygającą fazę.
The war in the East is entering a decisive phase. We all know this, we feel that the unknown is approaching. None of us knows the end of this conflict. We only know that it is currently taking on very dramatic dimensions. The events of the last few days show that this threat is really serious and real when it comes to global conflict.
Wydarzenia ostatnich kilkudziesięciu godzin pokazują, że
Despite knowing the price of escalation, NATO members continue to arm Zelensky, expecting Putin to toe the West's line. But the Russian leader is showing no signs of slowing down. And if NATO doesn't stop arming Ukraine, then it may not be long before Putin orders another ballistic missile strike to get the message across.
Yes, come against her from distant lands, break open her granaries, crush her walls and houses into heaps of rubble, destroy her completely, and leave nothing.
I came on today, one, because I believe in what this panel is doing, but more importantly, I need to appeal to this panel to help us save your lives, my life, and everybody's life. We are closer today than we have ever been, ever. In the history of the nuclear era. Since nuclear weapons were used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we are closer today than ever for nuclear weapons being used again. We are literally at the threshold of a nuclear war. This isn't hyperbole. I'm not here to scare you. I don't give a damn what you think. You're going to die unless we do something to stop it. This is on full frickin' automatic. Russia has lowered its threshold for the use of nuclear weapons, including conditions it knows that NATO and the United States have already met. If Russia assiduously adhered to its nuclear doctrine, they would be able to use nuclear weapons today against NATO. They have opted not to, but we have already passed that threshold. At the same time, we have a Rear Admiral Buchanan in the United States Strategic Command who speaks glibly about the America ready to have a nuclear exchange with the Russians. Do you know what that means, a nuclear exchange? It means a nuclear war. We're ready to have one. Russia has lowered its nuclear threshold, and America is ready to engage in a nuclear exchange with Russia as we speak, right here, any moment. Right now, the United States and Europe are trying to figure out what to do after Russia responded to their foolish decision to allow Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles and Storm Shadows missiles to strike Russia. Russia has responded with a unique missile system, an intermediate range system, which we know very little about. But what we do know, or what we can speculate based upon past practice and what's going on, is this missile is special purpose built to take out targets of concern in NATO deployed in Europe. I believe this missile was developed on the orders of President Putin sometime this last summer to destroy the Dark Eagle missile complex that the United States is. It's a hypersonic intermediate range missile.
The system comprises a Lockheed Martin rocket booster and a Dynetics Common Hypersonic Glide Body (CHGB), which destroys targets with kinetic energy alone, reaching speeds above Mach 5. Launched from modified M983 tactical trucks, the Dark Eagle's deployment will include 8 missile batteries, each with 8 missiles. Other branches, including the Navy, aim to deploy it on Zumwalt-class destroyers by 2025 and Block V Virginia-class submarines by 2028. The missile will address the gap left by the INF Treaty's restrictions, with an estimated range of 1,725 miles. Currently under development for the United States Army is the Long-Range Hypersonic Weapon, LRHW, also known as Dark Eagle. The Dark Eagle is an intermediate-range surface-to-surface boost glide weapon that will help to address the U.S.'s intermediate missile gap relative to the Chinese. The Dark Eagle consists of 2 distinct parts. The first is a Lockheed Martin-built rocket booster. The second is an unpowered, Dynetics-built Common Hypersonic Glide Body (CHGB) situated in the rocket booster's nose cone. The booster is launched, propelling itself to designated speeds and altitudes, at which point the CHGB is released from the nose cone. Once released, the CHGB glides at hypersonic speeds, upwards of Mach 5, back to Earth, towards the target. The CHGB is a kinetic energy projectile warhead, meaning the weapon does not contain an explosive warhead. Rather, the CHGB relies merely upon its kinetic energy to destroy a target. To generate sufficient kinetic energy to negate the need for an explosive warhead, the CHGB must achieve awesome speeds. The Army plans to launch the Dark Eagle from the M983 truck and trailer. The M983 is an 8-wheel drive, diesel-powered, 10-ton tactical truck. The truck can be configured differently, depending upon the mission, and can serve in a variety of roles, everything from tactical fire truck to water tender to common bridge transport to missile launcher. In the case of the Dark Eagle, the M983 will be arranged in 8 missile batteries, with 4 trucks carrying 2 missiles apiece. According to the Army, an LRHW battery consists of 4 transporter erector launchers on modified M870A4 trailers, each equipped with 2 AWR+Cs, 8 in total, 1 Battery Operations Center (BOC) for command and control and a BOC support vehicle. Other branches are interested in the Dark Star. The Navy is hoping to deploy the Dark Eagle from the Zumwalt-class destroyer by 2025 and the Block V Virginia-class submarine by 2028. The deployment of the Dark Eagle, across branches, should help to mitigate the intermediate missile gap that China currently enjoys over the U.S. The missile gap is a vestigial effect of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty (INF Treaty), to which the U.S. was a signatory, but to which China was not. As the name implies, the INF forbade signatories from possessing, producing, or flight testing ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles
ready
with
to
ranges
go. We
between
ready to go.
310
I know the
and
missile prepare for launch.
3,420
Ready to
miles.
go. They ready to
Missiles
go.
with such a range have immense military
We ready to go.
applications,
We ready
and
to
China
go. I
stockpiled
know the missile
accordingly.
prepare for launch.
The
And ready
U.S.
to go.
having now
Ready to
withdrawn from the
go. Come
INF
and
is
take
playing
us
catch-up.
home. I'm
The
still
Dark
down
Eagle
here
should help
holding
bridge the
on.
gap.
Still standing
Although the
strong.
exact
We
range
know
of the
you
Dark
up there
Eagle is
on that
classified,
throne. We gon' hold
speculation
your
holds
name
that the new
down.
missiles can reach targets at ranges of about 1,725 miles.
I think we only have one chance at stopping this nuclear war, and that is to get the president-elect to become actively engaged in calling out the Biden administration and speaking to the American people. Regardless of where you stand on the election that took place on November 5th, there was a winner. And that winner is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has articulated a policy that seeks to end the conflict in Ukraine and prevent a nuclear war in Russia. If you don't believe me, refer to the article published on The Hill magazine, authored by RFK Jr. and Don Trump Jr., two people who are on the inside of the Trump team. They wouldn't have published this article without the permission and concurrence of Donald Trump. We know this is Trump's position. The American people endorsed this position when they gave him the mandate to govern. And yet now the Biden administration is operating in a way that directly contravenes this, seeks to disrupt this, seeks to make it impossible, and in doing so pushes us to the brink of a nuclear Armageddon. How can we get him involved? How we can make our voices heard? The old-fashioned way. Shout it out from the top of our voices in Washington, D.C. And what I'm asking is that everybody join me in Washington, D.C. on December 7th. I've reached out to Jose Vega. I've reached out to others. Jose has reached out. We're beginning to put together a team that's going to make this possible. December 7th, 2 weeks, we can save the world, save our life, save your life by making our voices heard. If we make it to that, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that we're going to make it to December 7th. And I'm not being facetious. One stupid error and it's all over. The war begins and we all die. But just in case we do make it past Thanksgiving, in case we do enjoy that turkey dinner, we can gather in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Memorial and then march to Congress and then march to the White House and make our voices heard. That we are going to say no to nuclear war. And that's a hashtag that I want everybody to start trending. Hashtag say no to nuclear war. Get on social media and make this happen. This is it. I don't know what else you're going to do because you're going to die if you don't do this. If we don't find a way to make our voices heard, to let the Biden administration know that this is not acceptable. This is not how we do business. This is not what we, the people, want. That they will continue to pursue these policies to the detriment of everybody. And that's really all I wanted to say is keep an eye on this space as we develop this mission. This is the mission of a lifetime. This is the battle of our lives. If we lose this, we all die, literally. We all will die. We are so close to nuclear conflict, it's not funny. When you have a senior officer in Strategic Command saying openly that we are ready to engage in a nuclear exchange with Russia, do you understand what he is saying? Do you understand that a nuclear exchange means hundreds of millions of dead people? 100 million dead Americans, minimum. And they're ready to do it right now. If you're not angry, if you're not scared, you're not human. They are ready to go to nuclear war right now.
Luke chapter 21, verse 26, NLT. People will be terrified at what they see coming upon the earth, for the powers in the heavens will be shaken.
If you know anything, again, if you've studied Russian military history, Soviet military history, you understand that the present day is very much influenced by the past. So when the United States withdraws from the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty in 2019 under President Reagan, Putin said we view this treaty as being very important to prevent war. And so we will not develop new intermediate range systems, and we'll act as if the treaty is in force so long as you don't deploy intermediate systems into Europe. Of course, earlier this year in a NATO exercise in Denmark, we deployed intermediate nuclear forces, intermediate range missiles, nuclear capable, to Denmark. And Putin said, okay, we're moving forward. And the byproduct of this is the missile that was tested the other day. But people don't understand what this missile is. This is a missile that makes use of not the YARS, which is what the Rubiège, the RS-26, this is derived from, used the YARS first stage. This uses the Kader first stage, the Cedar. Now, most people don't know what the Cedar is, but the Ukrainians just came out and said that it's the Cedar. How would they know? Well, they have the debris. And on the debris are serial numbers, and the serial numbers show what the booster was. This is the most modern booster that the Russians have. Similar in size to the ours, so as it doesn't change the configuration of the system, but it has unique solid fuel principles that allow the missile to burn in variable speeds, making it impossible to target. The other thing it does is it has it doesn't use traditional MIRVs. I keep hearing people say multiple, independently targeted warheads. That's not what this was, not at all. This is the new system. The new system is, instead of a bus, a plate, so to speak, where the warheads are attached, that separates from the missile and then comes in and releases the warheads to their target on a trajectory, though, because it's still moving as this happens. What we have now is independent mini missiles that are there, and they fire themselves. So the first stage takes it up, second stage puts it in, and then you fire these independent missiles. And these missiles, each one of them had 6 large submunitions on them. This is where the name hazelnut comes from. Because if you look at a hazelnut tree, you look at the pod of nuts, it's exactly what you see with these submunitions coming down. This missile was developed specifically to take out Dark Eagle missile arrays. If you take a look at the layout, the footprint of the Dark Eagle, where the radar is, where the command and communications are, where this missile is designed to annihilate that. People kept saying, where's the explosion? It's not meant to be high explosive. It's meant to be a kinetic kill. And these submunitions come down and they will kinetically kill everything on the ground. These submunitions come down at such velocity that if they hit the Aegis ashore, it will be a smoking hole in the ground. This is what this missile is designed. Putin just put us on notice that he has a conventional missile system that is designed to preempt anything and everything NATO plans on doing to Russia, and there is no NATO response. There's nothing they can do about it. This is literally the equivalent of the most alpha wolf in the world coming in and pissing all over your home. That's what Putin just did. And it didn't have to be this way. Putin said right there, your withdrawal from the INF Treaty was the greatest mistake you have ever made. Because now you have compelled us to do this. And here we are. We didn't want to be here, but because of all the provocations you've done, we have checkmated you. And that's the case. I don't think the West has woken up to what has just happened. It is over. Over for the West. The only thing we can do is nuclear war.